Yo, let me tell you a little bit about my story and why I do what I do. Right. So growing up, I always had this vision, this big vision of creating generational wealth. Right. Not just making money, but building something that outlives me. Right. Something that actually changes my family's trajectory. And as a former athlete, I really believed that going pro was the path. Right. Not because I wanted the fame, but because I knew that that level of income could retire my parents, help my grandparents, and give my future family a life where money was not an issue, was never the stress. Right. So I gave everything I had to that dream. I mean, everything I had. Right. When I got to college and that window started to close, I'll be honest, it hit me hard. Right. I started feeling like I had failed, not just myself, but my family, the dream of generational wealth. It just felt like it was slipping away. And I remember sitting in my room one day and I'm asking myself, like, what am I gonna do, man? Like, there has to be another way. So like most people, I got on the internet, started looking at ways to make money, started looking at investing, stocks, businesses, retirement accounts, all the traditional things you hear about. But where I come from, money is scary, right? Losing it is scary. When you don't come from wealth, you don't get a lot of second chances. And at that time, I thought life insurance was just something you buy when you die, right? So someone can, bury you, right? That belief alone kept me stuck for a long, long time. And then everything changed, right? I got the opportunity to interview with a financial brokerage after someone I went to college with had reached out. Never even met her, but she reached out to me. And I didn't know it then, but that conversation put me in the right rooms. I sat in on meetings with, amazing mentors, and I was just listening. And they started breaking down, how wealthy families actually preserve money, move money, transfer money, not just through the stock market, right? Not just through hustle, but through properly structured insurance strategies, right? And that moment flipped the switch for me, right? I realized life insurance wasn't about death first. It was about control, liquidity, leverage, legacy. The death benefit is just a bonus from that point on, right? I just went all in, right? So I just late nights, early mornings, books, webinars, mentorship, paid, I even paid for coaching, right? Talking to people who've been in the industry 20, 30 years, former bankers, all these different people who've been around just the financial industry as a whole. I didn't want just surface level knowledge, right? I wanted to understand how these things really work. And that led me to concepts like infinite banking, family banking, different tax strategies, how companies like Walt Disney used cash value life insurance, when banks couldn't lend them money, right? Then I asked the question, well, okay, obviously those type of accounts take time. Like, what about the people who don't have 30 years to wait, right? And then I came across fixed index annuities, tax efficiency, retirement income strategies to move money from tax later to tax free money. And the deeper I went, the more I kind of got frustrated, right? And I'm thinking, like, why wasn't this taught? Like, why did nobody ever explain this to my family, right? Why do hardworking people never hear about these type of options? And then boom, it clicked, right? The industry isn't built to teach this, right? Advisors get paid for assets under management. These strategies don't fall into that bucket, so they often get ignored, right? Or they often get a bad rap and all these other things. And once I understood that, I stopped just learning and I started implementing these things myself, right? So I got the opportunity to work with a trusted professional. They work with high net worth clients all the time. Someone who actually understands how these things work, how to structure them properly, to make sure they function the way they're supposed to. And that mattered to me personally. I didn't want to wing this thing, right? And that's when I opened up my first index universal life policy IUL, right? Not as a death plan, but as a private financial system, a place where my money can grow without market loss, stay liquid, be leveraged, and still compound over time as I get older. And something I can actually use while I'm still alive, right? At the same time, I'm realistic about where I am in life, right? I'm young, I have time, I can afford some risk, right? So alongside that, I also have set up my own, Roth IRA for more aggressive growth opportunities. That way I'm positioned correctly on both sides, right? I've got protection, liquidity, leverage on one side. I got long-term high growth potential on the other side. It's not an either or, it's just strategy, right? And, I plan on using my IUO to fund opportunities, invest to help, expand business, with my family, move money in a tax efficient manner, letting $1 work in multiple places at the same time, right? And once I understood that, I wanted to start helping people around me do the same based on the season of their life, right? People close to retirement needed predictable income, right? People still building needed growth with protection, right? People just wanted clarity and control of their money, right? Control is the main thing. They wanted control of what their money did. And what I noticed, is the transformation as I'm helping people. It wasn't just financial, it was a mental thing, right? People finally felt like they had a system in place, a system around their money where they weren't guessing, they're not just hustling, right? They're not just hoping, right? A real plan was in place, right? I've watched my grandparents work their late 60s. I've seen people do everything right and still get crushed by taxes, rising cost. And it's not a discipline problem, that's an education problem, right? So my mission is to simply teach what was never taught to us, help people keep what they work hard for, and give families a real shot at building legacy, right? And if this resonates with you, it wasn't by accident, I promise. So reach out, ask questions, let's talk, right? Not just about money, right? Just about life, about legacy. Because you don't need millions to start building wealth. You just need the right system and the right financial literacy and education to do so.